This will be the first visit for Whitey Markle and the Swamprooters. Now, with a name like that, they have flat got to be good. They consist of Whitey Markle, Marty Schumann, whom you heard earlier today, and Beth Daly. Their music is a splendid blend of conservation-oriented Florida folk music. How about a warm hand for the Swamprooters?
Oh, that's a great introduction, Gamble. I've never had one quite that good. I'll tell you how nervous I am. Look here, I went out and bought a brand new white shirt just for the occasion. Reminds me of when I got ready to graduate from the 3rd grade. I was so nervous I couldn't hardly shave. We're from down around Gainesville. If y'all ever get a chance to come down there, come to the Frontier Cattle Company. We're there every weekend. Professor of the banjo and international champion on the auto harp, Marty Schumann on my right. Beth Daly right here stroking that stand-up bass. She's my girlfriend. And I'm Whitey Markle. We're going to sing some that I wrote for you now.
I woke up last night, rabbit fever on my mind. I woke up last night, rabbit fever on my mind. I woke up last night, rabbit fever on my mind. Got to leave this prison behind. I woke up last night, rabbit fever on my mind. My mama came creeping into my burning eyes. Mama came creeping into my burning eyes. My mama came creeping in my burning eyes. Should have been listening instead of telling lies. Mama came creeping into my burning eyes. I went to the hack, said hack, put me in the box. I want to go home. I went to the hack, said hack, put me in the box. I went to the hack, said put me in the box. I'm so tired of digging and picking this rock. I went to the hack, said hack, put me in the box. I'm so tired of working this chain gang, getting old. I'm so tired of working the chain gangs, getting old. I'm so tired of working and it's getting old. Gonna get myself a bush parole. I'm so tired of working this chain gangs, getting old.
Thank you. That's the first one.
There was a beautiful hill just north of O'Keller, and it was covered with Florida pines. It was a meller place for a feller who was sentenced to doing his time. That hill, it was covered with short needle pine trees that grew so pretty and tall. That old south wind kept a-whispering through the pine trees, little brothers, you're going to fall. Please, Mr. Wainwright, don't you build no more prisons. Don't you build no more 8 by 10 cells. The convicts are killing the pines down in Lowell. They'll be burning you down in hell.
Marty Schumann on the auto harp.
They kept ascending, the men and the women. The prisons was growing too small. That old south wind kept a-whispering through the pine trees, little brothers, you're going to fall. They started cutting and chopping and digging and building those penitentiaries. They covered that hill with those sterile white buildings, destroyed all those pretty pine trees. Please, Mr. Wainwright, don't you build no more prisons. Don't you build no more 8x10 cells. The convicts are killing the pines down in Lowell. They'll be burning you down in hell. They'll be burning you down in hell.
Thank you. That's the one that brought me up here. Appreciate that. Will McLean heard that down in Gainesville many years ago and encouraged me to keep writing, and also told these people up here about me. And finally we got a spot, and it's gotten better and better every year. I want to really thank these people for the spot we got this year. Now, I quit writing prison tunes because they're not really that popular. They're pretty, but they're not that popular. And I started writing environmental tunes, which is really where my heart is. I wrote this one called The Song of the Lake because I lived down there on Orange Lake so far back in the woods that them airboat guys don't know I live there, and they try to drive them in my house. So I wrote this song called Song of the Lake, and it's a beauty.
Oh, you come through the marsh, o'er the reeds and the pads, for the gators and the frogs you explore. But unlike the marsh hawk, so silent and peaceful, you invade with a deafening roar. Oh, you sit there and you play with your toy, so fearful its control and its power that you see. You unleash your contraption on this heavenly marshland, you never see the destruction that you read. Mister, won't you shut down that awful machine and listen to the song of the lake? The osprey, the blue-peat, dapper, and blackbird, it's a song only nature can make. For 2 million years we've lived by the water without your infernal machine. We caught the sweet fishes, hunted the marshes, and the lake's murky water was clean. So you crashed through the nests of the birds of the marsh with your airboat so fearful and loud. You scare all the critters with your engine so harsh, your invasion should not be allowed. And mister, won't you shut down that awful machine and listen to the song of the lake? The osprey, the blue-peat, dapper, and blackbird, it's a song only nature can make. It's a song only God can make.
It's a pretty one. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wondered how people felt about that. Now I know. Appreciate it. I got one now that you're even going to have to reach further to understand. I live in North Marion County on the south shore of Orange Lake, which is the county line. I don't know if y'all know much about that territory, but the place is getting plumb eat up with these big corporations buying the land up, scraping it off, putting up the creosote fences, and making horse farms. So I wrote this tune about it. Naturally, being a protesting folk singer, I wrote this tune. It's called Creosote Cemeteries.
You ask me why do I cry when eagles scream in the sky, and I know you wondered too why I moaned when the wood ducks flew. I know you just can't understand my love for the water and the land. You'll certainly never know why I'd rather see rattlesnakes grow than stand by and watch as they scrape the smilax, the elm, and the grape, just to throw up those creosote fences, the wrought iron and concrete benches, just to worship those thoroughbred steeds and their creosote cemetery. There once was a time when these steeds provided for working men's needs. They walked and they pushed and they plowed, but not for the big money crowd. They poked out a dogie or two, snake logs with the lumbering crews. They tugged the big guns of the war. These steeds are not needed no more. I won't stand by and watch as they scrape the smilax, the elm, and the grape, just to throw up those creosote fences, the wrought iron and concrete benches, and worship those thoroughbred steeds in their creosote cemeteries, just to worship those thoroughbred steeds in their creosote cemetery.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to hear that kind of a reaction. Us folk singers are not that popular nowadays. Marty's going to switch back to the auto harp, and we're going to do one that I wrote down there. I was so broke I couldn't hardly stand it, didn't have no friends left, and I decided I was going to write a song that would go down in the annals. I believe that's the word.
That's not the word.
It's not the one. Of Florida folk history, and believe me, folks, that's right where this one has gone. We sent it to Nashville, but it ended up in Lebanon Station. But the song's called Cracker Stomp, and in order to write a true folk song, my theory has always been make it simple, keep it simple. And so, in order to do this thing, well, I learned this thing from a buddy of mine. When I was about 12, I had a buddy named Johnny Shiver in Jacksonville, and we called it the Johnny Shiver Shuffle back then. What you do is you find you a piece of rusty tin that's laying over some rolled up stock wire where a truck's run over it or something, and if you step on that tin, it goes like that. Well, Johnny Shiver jumped accidentally on that roll of stuff one day, and from then on, we had the Johnny Shiver Shuffle. Back to the Cracker Stomp. It's a real simple dance. Everybody can do it. You simply lift your foot and drop it back down to the ground. Don't lift them both at the same time.
I'm just another old cracker boy born down in the swamp. My little song gonna bring you joy. It's called the Cracker Stomp. Late at night when the moon comes out, I want to ramble and romp. My feet start to jumping up and down, and it comes out the Cracker Stomp. Hey, hey, the Cracker Stomp. Down in the swamp. My feet start jumping, and it comes out the Cracker Stomp.
Let's play a little bit.
There's one thing you see about my little song, it has no rhythm or rhyme. You might do it short, but you can't do it long, 'cause you do it different every time. The same thing applies to them muddy old feet when they start to dancing along. There ain't no right way to do my song, and you sure can't do it wrong. Hey, hey, the cracker song down in the swamp. My feet start jumping, and it comes out the cracker stone. I said my feet start jumping, and it comes out the cracker stone. Yeah, the cracker stone.
All right, we're going to do one now that I didn't write, but one we love to do. Being swamp rooters, we always like to do one about one of the barnyard critters. So we chose this one for you. It's called Cluck Old Hen. It's a real good tune. Professor always gets in the Maximilian mode or something over there. And we're going to play it. It's an Appalachian mode is what it is.
It just means you get your instrument a little out of tune there.
Did I tell y'all about his dog? That's the craziest looking dog I've ever seen. He told me. What kind of dog did you say it was?
That's a police dog.
A police dog?
Yeah.
Marty, that dog's half Chihuahua and half pit bull, if I ever seen one.
That's a real police dog.
A real police dog?
Yeah.
Why is that?
He's undercover.
Wearing plain clothes, huh?
Plain clothes.
Cluck, cluck. My old hen's a good old hen. She lays eggs for the railroad men. Sometimes 8, sometimes 10. That's enough for the railroad men. Cluck, cluck. Cluck old hen, cluck and sing, ain't laid an egg since way last spring. Cluck old hen, cluck and squall, ain't laid an egg since way last fall. Cluck, cluck. Cluck old hen, cluck and beg, got that old hen by the leg. Cluck old hen, she clucked a lot, got that old hen in the pie. Cluck, cluck.
Good night, folks. Thank you very much.
All right. This will surely be the tenderest moment of the festival for me. It is my happy task at this point to introduce Florida's black hat troubadour, Will McLean. Now, I'm going to say a few words before he comes out. I first met Will in Tallahassee in 1960 when Paul Champion and I and our friend Chuck Glore went up to put into operation a coffee house which we called the Baffled Knight. K-N-I-G-H-T, after an old Elizabethan broadside ballad. The people in Leon County began calling us the Baffled Knights, which was prophetic and probably quite appropriate. And one afternoon, about 10 days after we had begun operation, a man simply came in off the street, said he'd like to sing some songs, picked up a guitar. He had a Pendleton shirt on and a watch cap, and sang the loveliest and most poetic folk songs that I'd ever heard, and they were all about my state of Florida. And it was only then that I was introduced to the phenomenon of a contemporary songwriter spontaneously composing songs which were immediate candidates for the oral tradition. It was Will McLean. One of the remarkable things about it is that in the 25 years that have ensued, he has continued to produce work of very high order. Tonight, he is joined, I'm happy to say, by myself, but by my old partner, Paul Champion, who was a virtuoso banjoist and guitarist. Rather than dwell on superlatives, because Paul has always played with the very best, I'd just like to say that he is the very first person that I ever heard make pure sense out of a fretted instrument. So how about a wonderful welcome for these two old friends, Will McLean, Paul Champion. They're joined by Marty Schumann, Chief Jim Billie, Don Grooms,
Good evening. Better now, get it? Here we go. Oh, yeah. Us stars ain't used to these fancy microphones. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that it is probably the greatest honor I have known in 25 years of coming to this Florida Folk Festival to have two beautiful human beings that we started out together, God, so many years ago. We've got one of the finest young Americans, Chief James Billie, the Seminole people of Florida. We have an artist of the top caliber who writes many, many great songs, and I had the honor to be the first to come on this stage at White Springs with this man, Don Grooms. We'd like to tell you a little story about the 1928 flood that drowned a good many people. The wild wind sweeping out of the West Indies virtually lifted the water out of the lake bed of the Okeechobee Lake, cast it down onto the adjacent countryside, and 4,000 people were drowned. This is called Hold Back the Waters. We'd like to dedicate this thing of ours to two of the great ladies of the Florida Folk Festival, Thelma Bolt and Barbara Beecham. Was in the late 20s that there come a big flood. It drowned it 4,000, their grave was in mud. 'Twas nothing could withstand that great tidal wave, and the ghost of that eve still cry from the grave. Lord, hold back the waters of Lake Okeechobee, for Lake Okeechobee's blue waters are cold. When wild winds are blowing across Okeechobee, they're calling and seeking for other poor souls. Oh, Lake Okeechobee's blue waters are cold. The Seminole left there in haste and with speed. Their wise words of warning were given no heed. When the waters receded, great God, what a sight! Men, women, and children turned black as the night. Lord, hold back the waters of Lake Okeechobee, for Lake Okeechobee's blue waters are cold. When wild winds are blowing across Okeechobee, they're calling and seeking for other poor souls. Oh, Lake Okeechobee's blue waters are cold. Now Lake Okeechobee is calm and serene. The land all around it is fertile and green, but the people get fearful when the wild winds do roam. Waters are cold. My Lord, my goodness, this is a good festival. It's the best in the whole world. Gamble Rogers gets more out of this than do I. So I'm going to ask him to sing you a song. And Jim, tell him the story, Abraham.
Well, somebody showed me a newspaper clipping from a paper in Alachua, Florida. Now, did I pronounce that right? Alachua. Or should I say Alachua? All right. Well, I'll start pronouncing it right if one man here can tell me why they say Hogtown. I've been trying to find that out for years. I'd like to hear about it backstage. There was a newspaper clipping about a man named Jim Williams who was condemned to death by hanging. He was a black man, and by the time the sentence was ready to be carried out, the hanging law was repealed. So he was conveyed to Rayford Penitentiary, where he was strapped in the electric chair by a warden and another official, neither of whom really wanted to be the first to pull the switch on this dread instrument of human destruction. They argued, some say for 45 minutes, over who should send the man to his ultimate reward, only to have a parliamentarian enter the death chamber and point out to them that it's illegal to keep somebody waiting beyond a certain stipulated amount of time for a death sentence to be carried out. It's cruel and unusual punishment to do so. So they had no recourse but to unstrap the prisoner and let him up. That's the way the first electrocution in Florida ended. Well, as usual, we ain't exactly eat up with liberals out here. In any event, Jim Williams became a trustee, and he later saved someone's life, and he was pardoned by the governor. And it takes an artist with the sensibility of a Will McLean to sense the poetic potential of a story like this and take a proletarian name like Jim Williams and change it to the Ballad of Abraham Washington. We all recorded this song in Winter Park, Florida a long time ago. Let's trade verses. I'll do the first one. There was a man named Washington, his first name Abraham, and the judge he vowed he'd ride the rope into the promised land. Before he met his fateful doom, the hanging law was dead. Took him down to Rayford town to the electric chair instead.
Stopped him in the electric chair, and so while he was waiting, the warden and the county sheriff were talking and debating which one of us must throw the switch, send this man to hell. But no decision he could reach, in prison he would dwell.
So they took him from the electric chair, his sweat had turned to blood. They told him that his life was spared, and from his eyes did flood the salty tears of gratefulness. It happens to all men. Down on his knees he made this vow to never sit again.
Take it on out, Jim. I can't remember neither.
One day a prison gang did ride by pastures that were green. A mother and her baby strolled so happy and serene. Suddenly a vicious bull did charge this frightened wife, and Abraham, he jumped the fence and he saved the woman's life. Paul, let's play it. And a pardon full for Washington, his first name Abraham, who made a vow to never sit again while on this land. The last accounts of Washington, the day was cold and wet. Was Abraham, have you kept your vow? And he said, I ain't set yet.
Thank you. It sure is good to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, James Billie has written innumerable songs about Florida, about his people. And he lives what he writes. And he's going to do one now that I had the honor to make up. And it is indeed a great honor to have this man of his caliber sing my song, Seminole.
Where the dark stream waters run, almost strangers to the sun, ghostly damsels early morn, paying homage to green corn. Seminole, Seminole. Bitter hatreds, they do fade, no more war cries in the glades. Basket weavers you have turned, many a white man's ways you've learned. Seminole, Seminole. Seminole, you noble race, there is honor in your face. You did never lose your stand, this is still your golden land. Seminole, Seminole. Seminole, you noble race, there is honor in your face. You did never lose your stand, this is still your golden land. Seminole, Seminole, Seminole.
Just to show you how all of us, shoot, I don't want to be melodramatic, all of our hearts beat together, as do yours. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the beautiful songs of Don Grooms.
All of this land belonged to the Seminoles before the white people came here, the Spaniards. They came to the prairie searching for gold, demanding what did not exist. When Chief Vida Chuco explained there was none, DeSoto put irons on his wrists. Then Chief Vida Chuka had a great feast. He told tales across the campfire about the vast riches beyond the Swanee. Told the Spaniards to search over there. Then the Indian knives met the big Spanish swords and were broken in the battle that night. Chief Vida Chuco slashed DeSoto's face, but he lost his own life in the fight. When DeSoto recovered, his rage was still high. He said, "Bring all those Indians to me. He slaughtered 1,200, laughed as they died. Then he marched on across the Swanee. Indians waited, then they came back again to the prairie and they hoped to remain. But the white men still wanted that lush prairie land. So they fought the new leader, King Payne. Colonel Dan Noonan brought troops to the lake. King Payne brought his warriors there too. He routed the soldiers, but he lost his own life, as Indians usually do. 'Cause the soldiers came back as they always return, drove the Indians off of their land, fired 400 villages, watched them all burn. Ended the struggle, Vita Chuco began. Now there are no more Indians in North Florida. There's no more land for the white man to take. There's only a prairie named for King Payne and for Colonel Dan Noonan, a lake. Now 400 years have gone by since that night Vita Chuco slashed DeSoto's face. Now white men are living on King Payne's prairie. They're sailboating on Dan Noonan's lake. Thank you very much.
I want to ask Jim to tell you a story that somebody told us in New York about a wild hog. You want to tell them what happened up there?
Well, among Will's honors certainly must be mentioned the time that he was invited by Pete Seeger to sing in Carnegie Hall in a celebration of American folk song. And for any of you who are archivists or who are inclined to keep old issues of Broadside magazine around, there is one of Will's songs printed there. I rather suspect it is Osceola. I'm not sure which one it was, but it bore a foreword by Pete Seeger in which he said that Will McLean was, in his estimation, the greatest practicing writer of American folk songs at that time, this being in the early 70s. So you see, these are all links in a chain. It goes way back. And when I was living in New York, Will McLean was up there to do a celebrity series of concerts, one of which was in Carnegie Hall. And he was staying uptown with some folks who were members of the movement, went back into the 30s and 40s. And they were old folk singers, and they had a deep sense of politics that permeated their music and the presentation of their music. And there was a musical soiree at their house, and Will was the featured performer, and he kept trying to sing this song. It's about a wild hog in Gulf Hammock, a celebrated, almost near mythical, horrific, blood-curdling porker. And every time he did 3 or 4 lines, one of the members of this group would jump up and say, "Wait, what Mr. McLean isn't saying is that this beast represents all that is malign and evil in nature. It is the dark eye of the darkest part of the forest, and the man who walks there is on a night walk, and there's it's a metaphor, and Will just turned around in the middle of all that and said, "Hell, Jim, it's just a song about a pig."
There's a wild hog in Gulf Hammock. I don't wish on any man. My blood knows his hurtful touches, dark to brown and yellow sand. It was on a lonesome evening, pretty near the setting sun. Wasn't thinking, I got careless, didn't even tote a gun.
Times at night I gets to thinking that old hog still on my mind. I walks out in the moonlight and the shivers hold my spine.
There he stood, his red eyes burning, slobber running down his jaw. I'd never seen a sight so fearful, chilled me to my very maw. There's a wild hog in Gulf Hammock. I don't reach no nitty man. My blood knows his hurtful touches, dark to brown and yellow sand. Take it home, Mr. Tam. wild hog. We'd like to do this one for James Cook, who is, he touches with us once in a while. His wings are feathered, and he flies everywhere. And he flies with us, as we do with all of you. Let me leave you with a little thing for the wildlife. We've been up here having a good time and thinking about ourselves. Let's do something. I'd just like to acknowledge them and that what's happening to them in this world, our world, and they're crying, and they're sending this to you. Paul, will you and Jim give us some background? Just anything. For all of you people out there who love animals, I'm going to recite something. Deep in the glade where the wild deer wade and play neath a ghost-like moon, soft misty rain damps the sawgrass plain. A night bird answers a loon. Swamp singers tell of how lost in the spell and the beauty of nature's way. A last dying squeak from the claw and beak, a silent owl clutches its prey. Wild as a hog in a dark hammock bog, fire in the eyes shows the mean. In mangrove trees drawn swarming bees and snowy egrets in preen. This precious land of muck sawgrass sand dies with more creatures each dawn. Their song only heard in the moan of the wind, for the rain is over and gone. And to leave you, beautiful people and my beautiful friends here, Thelma Bolton, all of you, thank you for Florida. Don't mean to be heavy, but we hope to see you, if not here next year, somewhere in Florida in the wind. And leave you with my heart. It's called Florida Sand. Wherever I wander, in summer or winter, the ocean is calling me back to Florida sand, 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 to Florida sand, sand, sand. The wind and the ocean are calling me back to the sand, 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 to Florida sand, sand, sand. Waves softly sparkle beneath the bright moon. Night birds are crying, return to me soon. Oh, Florida, Florida, my heart you ever, for always the love of this man is Florida sand, 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 is Florida sand, sand, sand. Beautiful sun-kissed land, oh, Florida sand. Has anybody heard the new state song? Waves softly sparkle beneath the bright moon. Night birds are crying, return to me soon. Oh, Florida, Florida, my heart you ever, for always The love of this man is Florida sand. Sand, sand, it's Florida sand. Sand, sand. Beautiful sun-kissed land, oh, Florida sand. That ain't the state song, but it could be. God bless you. Don Grooms, Chief James Billie, the great, incomparable Paul Champion, and the great, incomparable Gamble Rogers, and God bless you. We all love you. Thank you so much.